Hi everybody. The spring is finally here and it feels like winter in Montana switched to summer almost. The weather is very nice. The camping season has officially started. We're getting ready. We're getting our camper ready for the season, and when everybody gets to enjoy just loading up their stuff that they took out for winter, maybe de-winterizing the camper, checking everything around. My camping season starts with, you guessed it, fixing the camper. So the other day I went underneath. I got one of those. I might put it in here somewhere. Spare tire carriers. Cause let me switch camera. Cause on the bumper holder, that spare tire takes up room. I like to have the cargo carrier on the back and our tank, and with that spare tire underbelly spare tire carrier, I could have our poop tank and the spare tire down below, and they will fit. There was a perfect area for it. I drilled a couple of holes here and there. I thought it will work, but it hangs down so low. There is room for a tank to fit and a tire fit if that carrier was lower profile, but it's made to pretty much for the tire to run flush with the underbelly cover, right? But it doesn't work for our camper because it hangs down to about here, and when I hook it up to the truck, I only have about 6, maybe 8 inches, and this was the only area I could put it in. It's one of those you drop down, slide out, and you got access to your tire or to your tank, and the tire kind of straps to it. And anywhere else, we got steps, we got gas line, jacks, we got the dump valve over there. So there was no room except for up front, and it didn't work. But while doing that, I started looking around, and at some point I did notice one time I could hear a crack, like the rock hit the side of it, and I went around and I looked and I didn't see anything. It was pretty loud, and I noticed that the camper started leaning. The gap here was smaller than on the other side, but I looked around and I didn't notice anything till last week when I was working on that, and that's what I found. Ta-da! So this is a brand new leaf spring, and I had to get a set of 2, and this is the one from the passenger side. The driver's side is still there. If you can see, it's still intact. But this one here lost a chunk of number 2 leaf, so it's supposed to be like this, and you can tell these are not as thick. I'm just noticing, not as thick as the original ones. I did measure the thickness of the springs. Well, let's hope it's gonna work. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So on the axle, it sits on that pin bolt, wherever it is, and locks with U-bolts and the plate on the bottom. And right here, if it broke while going down the highway, as a matter of fact, I'm looking closer now, and it looks like it might have started to crack. If that broke going down the highway, the best thing could happen, it will just drop down and rest on the frame. But what if I lost the axle? on the highway. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. I got one put in. I'm about to drop the jack and see what kind of gap I'm gonna get. And I'm just hoping that it's gonna work. I'm gonna take some measurements here for for the supplier, and I was able to get this locally from 8. I forgot what they're called. They do all the trailer supplies. They've got everything for trailers, from tires to jacks to anything, including leaf springs. And they asked me a measurement from eye to eye, the width, the thickness, how many leaves, and the thickness of it. The thickness altogether looks right, but the thickness of the plate seems to be different. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm working on. That's how my season starts. Get right back to fixing it. I did do some other fixes and improvements, and they probably gonna follow because this is not too long of the video. So I'll follow with the rest of the stuff that I did at the end of the season before it got too cold. So yeah, so I ended up coming here. I got the old and the new spring with me, and I'm gonna see what they say, if they have anything available for a bigger capacity. My next step was Redco, and they've got variety, so I was able to pick and choose, and I'll show you later what I got. But looks like very similar to what I had originally, so we'll see. So yeah, I forgot to mention that the 6 or 8 Rebels, can never remember that name. They didn't really have a variety. They asked me about the dimensions, went off of it, and they had a pair, so I went and picked them up, and you saw the difference between, and then I did some measuring. Actually, each leaf is a little bit thinner, so the weight capacity of the leaf spring is not enough for our camper. I don't know if I'm gonna attach a picture or if I'll show it to you. I'm probably gonna show it better on the camper. So when I put that new leaf spring on the side, was the broken spring, I'm actually riding half an inch lower. You know, the distance between the axle and the top of the leaf springs is about half an inch lower than the other side that has old, worn out spring. Well, I'm saying worn out, it's only 2 years old, but the one that already had stress, and that old one is riding higher. So when I went to Redco, they actually had variety for me to pick and choose from, and they had 2 different leaf springs that were close to mine, and the one that I picked is actually measuring a little bit thicker on each leaf and all together, and I'll show you differences. So, and the weight capacity is, I believe, 2,600 pounds per spring, which means about 5,000 altogether, and our camper is under 5,000 dry weight. So, but just looking at the thickness, they look pretty similar to the original ones. We'll see what happens when I'm gonna keep the skinny new one on one side, and I'm gonna put the other one on, and we'll see the difference. We'll see the difference, and also difference between the old and the new. I did take some measurements already, so we'll see what the difference is gonna be there. I'm hoping it's gonna ride just a little higher, or at least at the same height, but unless you try, you wouldn't know. I also picked up 6 bolts. I'm gonna replace the bolts because they do come with the crush nut and splined neck. So I'm gonna spin them around, spin the plates around to get the bolt on the other side. But yeah, new bolts wouldn't hurt. They're only like $4 a pop. So, and the springs are actually the same price, 62 versus 60 for the skinny ones. And hopefully the first guys will take their springs back, even though I installed one, but I didn't drive on it, so should be fine. So I'll let you know. Yeah, some of you mentioned that I'm probably the only one who's got a lemon camper, but it's really hard to believe. And I don't know how can you say that I'm, oh man, you got a lemon, I have camper and I have no problems. Put down in comments how many of you guys, first of all, if you're here, I'm pretty sure you are looking at other people's, in this case mine, problems with my camper. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. If you had no problems with your camper, you wouldn't be here. I know that some of you are looking at these videos because you're looking for a camper, and once again, that's my strong opinion. Stay away from Forest River, wherever. I think all of their divisions are going to be as bad as this one, but I can clearly show you and say for the Wildwood, Forest River Wildwood line is definitely don't worth buying. So, and if you're Forest River people, hit me up and let me know something different, because I do nothing but keep on fixing this camper. It's a good experience for me. You know, I'm positive. I'm looking at it as a good life experience, and the more you know, the better. I like to learn new things, like replacing leaf springs. I've never replaced a leaf spring, and it seems to be pretty simple as long as you can figure out the weight distribution and suspending of the camper, the axle, and make sure nothing is gonna fall down crashing on you. So I'm looking at that as a good experience. But I'm a technician. That's my life. I fix stuff. But what about you guys that don't know how to fix stuff? Or for you, I don't have time for doing that. So, you know, I really have to find time to do something like that, to fix my camper, to take it to the next trip, just to bring it home and fix it again. But there are people that have no time, or have no ability, or have no tools to fix something like that, and then taking it to the dealer, you never know if they'll have room for you, if they'll get it fixed. And even with the warranty stuff, now it's out of the warranty, but even with the warranty stuff, it was hard, and it's just not for me. All of my buddies and friends around that have campers in this area, they encounter same problem. You know, they buy a brand new camper from a big dealer in our area, and then the dealer won't take them back for warranty work, drag their feet till their warranty expires. That's it. And then even off the warranty, they won't take you in because they're slammed. They don't have room. That's what they tell you. And I want to believe them, because of nowadays quality of all these builds, they are slammed. So I don't know. let me know if you're here and you have a camper, or you had 1 or 2 or 3 different ones and you never had any problems with that. And if you did have problems, you always were able to take them right back in and get them fixed the same day, the next day, leave it overnight and come back and pick it up tomorrow. Even small stuff, even little stuff, people take it in and they can't get their campers back for months or two. And we are watching some channels of couples, families doing it full time, and just horrible stories. And it's their house, they're living it. So when they take it into the dealer, now they are out of it for a week or two, a month, living in a hotel. Yeah, this industry needs to change. That's ridiculous, and it's scary. And thinking about safety, what if that leaf spring broke? We just got lucky it didn't break. What if it broke? Can't even think about it. So, and yes, everything is made in China. It's funny how the first leaf springs I picked up, they probably stayed on the top of them that they're made in China. So I went to Redca and I was like, yeah, these are made in China. I guess I'm curious what the other ones are, and those are also made in China, probably from American steel that's sent overseas. But anyway, it's sad, but again, I'm looking at it as a good experience. And some of you said, oh, just suck it up and get it fixed and stop complaining. But something needs to change. There's some people's lives on the line. They lose axles, the frames bend and the frames break. They lose campers. The campers go off the road pulling their cars with them, and I see it left and right on the highway too. It's scary. So, but anyway, enough talking. We'll get to fixing. Okay, here's what we are looking at. I got these bolts. I don't know what they are called. They're shoulder bolts. And I didn't know that, but one side of them, on the bolt head side, it's splined. So whenever you put it into the bracket, it stays there and keeps it from spinning, which makes sense. So it will spin in the sleeve, but not on the shoulders of the bracket where the bolt is, so it does not cut through the bolt. And the nuts, the reason I bought it, the nuts are squeezed on the sides, so see how they're oval. When you screw them on, they lock themselves on the bolt, and that's the same way as mine were. So I decided I don't think you can get nuts separately. They come with the bolt, so I got the bolts. There's 6 of them, but I'm still thinking if I'm gonna do all 6 of them or not. We'll see. But here's what the leaf springs look like. This is the first set I got. This is the original one, and these are the other ones. And you can tell by just looking at them that these are as thick as my old ones. And center to eye is the same exact distance. Let's see. So eye to eye, and center to center, line up the center bolts, and these all line up. It's hard to show on the camera where this did not really line up. So center to center, and they were a little bit shorter. but the thickness, that's what I was aiming for. So the next step up from these, it will be 5 leaf, but I don't have enough length in my U-bolts that hold leaf springs to the axle to go with 5, but 5 will be will hold more weight. So, but we'll see how these perform. And see, they got orange mark. I don't know what that means. My old ones, they have they have purple. And if anybody needs numbers of these, so I guess this is the brand. They're also probably made in China, but that's the number. Hemco, made in China. So here are all the numbers, if you can see them, and here are the numbers of the ones that didn't work. Actually, weight wise, I should weigh them on the scale, because these are very light and these are heavy and these are heavy, and I think these are even heavier, because let me get my gauge out. I've got my pocket everyday go-to caliper. It's not really precise, you know. I like to measure the pipe sizing or something like that really quick, inside and outside. But if you look, let's start here. So take this measurement and go here. You can see how much of the gap. And if I go all the way across and come up to that, you can tell the difference here. Here you can tell the difference right there. So now if I go to the new ones all the way, and look at that, they're thicker than my original ones. And if I go onto this and just one leaf tight, we go here, so each leaf is thicker on the new leaf springs versus the original ones. So I'm just hoping that they will perform better than the original one, right? Fingers crossed, because stuff is made in China. I'm pretty sure these were also made in China. I don't know who Leopard sources for the leaf springs. And they also couldn't tell me what the color markings are, and they could not tell me what the leaf spring's supposed to be, looking at the either Leopard frame numbers or the manufacturer brand model number of the camper. So there's no telltale. We'll see. I'll see you guys when I put at least one of them in to see the difference between the old ones, the new ones, and the other new ones. Okay, Friday afternoon, back to it. Let's take a look at the measurements. So this is the first new set, and you can tell it's already flat, and the distance is between the top and the subframe is about 5 1/4. 5 1/4. Next side. So this is old leaf spring, and we are at 5 3/4, something like that, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, about 5 3/8. So, and you can tell this leaf spring isn't completely flat. So for the safety concerns, I am hooked up to the truck. Truck is in park and emergency brake and chocks. Axle is on the chocks on both sides. I got a little bit of support here, but yeah, with single axle, you really, you know, if you don't have a third point, that might just roll on you. So I'm at the point where I'm getting bolts out of here. Remember I told you there were splines, so I'm gonna get them out of this bracket, and I am going to flip these two brackets left to right and put splines on this end now, so they stay on the front. I'm still gonna spline the same way, put the spline the same way it was, because I don't want bolt going through the outside. I actually could, it'll fit. So this is the old bolt, and I could go that way if needed to. I could take the tire off, but I like it to be that way, and I think over there they get more movement. Here you only have one angle. There are those two bolts, you know, they constantly move. That's where, you know, when the leaf spring contracts or extends the length because of the weight, you know, and bouncing around, that thing moves like that. So the top and the bottom pivot points, they get movement. So more movement than here, from my perspective. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Well, I'll always have to come up with something. It was hard to figure out how I'm gonna suspend this thing, right? But that was the other day. So now I already put the new one in, ready to put the length in. So I'm driving these splice bolts into the new plate, I mean the other plate, and it's like, what can I use? Well, the nipple and the board and a 3-pound mallet, and it goes right in. And I'm not a specialist. I'm just showing you my way of doing this. So from last time, from a trial, I figured out the easy way is to lift up the axle till you get some air. Basically right now the weight of the axle rests on the top of the leaf springs. Take the U-bolt nuts off, and then let the trailer down so you get a gap between the top of the springs and the axle, enough to where that locking bolt, there is a locking bolt, you know, the top of this bolt locks into this plate, into the hole in that plate. Basically drop it out of there so you see the bolt, and then none of these pivot points gonna have any weight of the axle, just the weight of the leaf spring. So you take this bolt out, knock it out, what I did, I put a board on the back side against the bolt that sticks out and hammered on the plate, and the splines of the bolts came out and the bolt jumped out. On there I just undid the bolts and pulled the plate with both bolts and knocked them out from that plate, the old bolts, and you saw me installing the new bolts. So okay, now we're to the plate, and drop it down and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, I like that. I did jump on the back of the trailer on the bumper just to work this leaf spring a little bit in, and we are at almost at 6 inches. So it is, let's say, 1/4 inch higher than the other side. So I want to say this is the right type of leaf spring for this camper, according to my old side. Yeah, about 1/4 inch higher on the new side versus this one. So this should be at 6 inches when we're done, but we'll see. I'll take measurement, because you never know the way they build. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not going to be the same measurement, but we'll see. So I do use this C-beam to put between the jack and the frame, because that square, I call it subframe, right? This is the frame, I-beam frame, everything flexes so much you wouldn't believe. But this square, I didn't want to put that round weight right on it and bend it. I don't know how heavy duty that is. It doesn't seem to be really heavy duty. It did flex on the other side. When I moved axle a little bit, this whole thing was flexing. So what I do, I just insert from the other side. I insert it like this, so I spread that round top of the jack into probably a good 2x2 inch square. So just another tip, I got that, so I was thinking maybe putting it along the whole frame to jack it up, but this is the only way I found I can easily get to it and lift it up. I could probably lift up on the frame, but I decided to get as close. Plus, they supposedly made to support the weight of the camper on the axle. So okay, so here's a good example. If anyone knows, let me know. See, the original ones were purple and these are orange. What is it for? Is that weight rating? Who knows? Please let me know in the comments. Thanks. And for interested ones, here what it looks like old and new. I can't honestly see a difference. It also feels like old one is bent a little bit more versus the new one. I don't know, there's not much difference. So that means if we gain a 1/4 inch, it's gonna be because of the thickness of the spring. If you remember, it was just a hair a little bit thicker altogether. So we'll see. The UPS guy came. Okay, never mind. New ones in. That one's a little harder than the previous ones. Kinda jumps at me. There we go. Okay. The old ones. What did I do with my socket? The old ones go like this. This is an impact socket, right? Black impact. I guess I'm using it the right way. I'm impacting it. Okay. Old ones. Out. Come on. They sit pretty tight. Oh, they've got some wear. Where is it? Okay, we bottomed out on that socket. Let's see. I like to keep those bolts just in case. You know, you never know. If you know. So they do have like a shiny spot. That's where the weight was riding on, but I don't see much wear. There are plastic bushings inside of the leaf springs. So this one here was riding on the metal bracket, and you can tell this one's got some wear. I'm glad I got new bolts. So yeah, this one is actually riding inside. It's like a 2x2 brake. It was the hole going through it. So yeah, this one shows some metal on metal wear. Okay, new bolts. Well, let's see the process of installation. Ooh. Where did that come from? So the shoulders supposed to go into these holes, and it did not line up well for me on the other side. Plus the blades got a little bit of wear from the top bracket, I believe, so I'm gonna put new face to it, but it doesn't want to quite go onto my shoulders. We might need to bring those bolts closer together. Just a tap. Here we go. So now we're going up to match the pin with the hole. Oof. Well, that came from nowhere. Let me support you better. No, I don't want to see my... Oh man, I gotta get a little tripod or something. You're on the leveling block right now, if you don't believe me. Oh, so you're on the leveling block between two sockets. Do you need to know the sizes of the sockets? No? Okay. So let's put you back, and hopefully that wind does not pick up anymore. Okay. Yeah, that came from nowhere. Well, I know it came from west, actually. But they didn't say it was supposed to be windy. Well, it was easier on the other side. Oh, here we go. Okay, that's in. I'm gonna suspend it just a little more. So we took weight off of the U-bolts. So yes, and I asked at the second location if they had longer U-bolts for me to go with 5-leaf leaf spring, and they had the same exact length, and as you can tell, it's not gonna be enough for the fifth leaf, but I wish I could. Maybe when next time it breaks, I'll consider that and go with, oh come on, and go with 5 leaves and the longer bolts. Just take the whole kit to them and see if we can make it better. Here we go. Sometimes they're stubborn. You kind of squeeze them together. Still stubborn. And the bottom nut goes into the hole, corresponding hole on the bracket. There we go. Make sure everything lines up with the bracket. The U-bolts are not spread out. And see if we can hand tight it. I don't really know if there's a specific sequence of tightening these bolts, but I just do 3-4 turns on each, one side, the other side. Because if you tighten this side, the bracket comes out and you think you're tight on that side, but there's actually going to be a gap on a leaf spring. If you tighten this first, then you know it's going to change the angle. It's not going to be right either. So I just go either cross or side to side or front to back and do it that way, making sure I got the same length of bolts sticking out on the bottom. And I think that should be fine. So right now I have a gap over there. So let's see, let's lift up a little more. Now the wheel is in the air. Still have a gap. So I will check all of these bolts and the shoulder bolts. I don't think there's going to be a problem with those. These might loosen up, but I'll do it after our first trip or during the trip, probably after. So let's drop the weight and see the distance. And if you noticed, you might want to scroll back and see how much movement is in here. Not quite as much as up in the front. The front doesn't move that much. So main movement is in these 2 bolts. What did we say? 6 inches? That's about average. So we got 6 1/4 on this side and six on the other side, and for some reason I'm not surprised, and I don't know what it is, but you can see there is a difference. So we'll see what it's gonna look like again after the first trip. I might bring you with just to see if any of those bolts loosened up, of those bolts, and see if our distance changed. But again, it also can depend on what's loaded in the camper. Right now on the opposite side from here, I have generator in the back, and the slide is in, so I don't know how they weigh it out. Is it supposed to be a little higher because when the slide comes out it drops? I don't know, but the fact is 6 1/4, a 1/4 inch higher on this end. But I want to say this camper was always, you know, if you look at the wheel well gap, it was always lower on that side, like visibly lower, before that spring broke. So, well, now we're just gonna have to take it for a spin, come back and double check everything. Thanks for staying with me, and I think this video was long enough and didn't have enough room for the rest of them, so for the rest of the stuff that I did, so it might need to be separate. But anyway, that's how I do it. It's doable. If you got a little bit of skills, you should be able to knock it out, but just to be careful and safe with all the, you know, suspending thing in the air. I also had my jacks rolled down a little, just in case something crashes, jacks might stop it. So, and make sure you got that third point of contact onto the truck or some other means, but you don't want that camper to move forward to back, forward and back, because it might just, one side might roll on you, and that's gonna be bad.